Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I want to issue a statement this morning in my capacity as Minister of Education, Sustainable Development, Innovation, Science, Technology, and Vocational Training. Mr. Speaker, when this government took office 10 months ago, though we recognized the many challenges faced by the Ministry of Education, we were even more cognizant of the many opportunities which exist for the transformation of our education landscape. We all know of the many challenges that COVID-19 brought onto our shores and how it has adversely impacted the education sector. But what gave us hope, Mr. Speaker, was the resilience and adaptability of many of our education leaders, our teachers, and our students. And though there is still some way to go, we are elated by what the future holds for education in St. Lucia. While not underplaying the significance of the face-to-face interaction and experiences, this government recognizes the integration of ICTs into education as an important tool in positioning our citizens to compete with the rest of the world in this technologically driven era. Today's learner, Mr. Speaker, is a digital citizen. For this reason, the government took the decision to immediately reinstate the one laptop per child program. While Senator Dr. Pauline Antoine Prosper, Parliamentary Secretary in the Ministry of Education, would have mentioned at a previous sitting of the Senate some weeks ago the many challenges associated with the e-books, I wish to reiterate, Mr. Speaker, that this initiative cost the government of St. Lucia millions of dollars in license fees annually, an approach which is unsustainable. This is why our government is focused on content development, which not only aligns with the curriculum, but also adapts to our local context. Hence, alongside the other member territories of the OECS, we will seek to build our own content repository, giving students access to open education resources at no cost to them. In other words, Mr. Speaker, we have the capacity to develop culturally relevant content at no additional cost to that already being met for the daily execution of our education mandate. We are of the firm belief that the millions of dollars paid annually in recurring subscription costs can be better utilized in advancing our education system. In our pursuit of the one laptop per child program, this government has already secured 3,800 Chromebooks, which are now in the hands of teachers and students at the Form 2 level. Another 3,000 tablets, Mr. Speaker, were also secured and distributed to primary schools throughout the country, thanks to the OECS Commission and the Global Partnership for Education for supporting this request. As we speak, an additional 4,300 devices have been secured for distribution to primary and secondary school students and teachers. This is expected, Mr. Speaker. They are expected, Mr. Speaker, to receive those devices in the coming weeks. This is consistent with previous pronouncements made where I indicated to this Parliament and the national community that this year, in excess of 10,000 devices will be distributed in the school system. Mr. Speaker, as we continue to make strides towards the incorporation of ICT in education, we are currently having very fruitful discussions with our development partners on provision of more devices. You and this Parliament will be updated once confirmation has been received. The integration of ICT, information and communication technologies in education, is not only about the distribution of devices. The Ministry of Education continues the commissioning of several smart classrooms throughout the length and breadth of this country. These classrooms, Mr. Speaker, will ensure a more diverse, interactive, and inclusive education system catering to the multiple learning needs and modalities of our students. The rooms will cater to recorded classes where students will be able to go over lessons, re-engage content, thereby reinforcing concepts. Mr. Speaker, the smart classrooms lend to more varied approaches to instruction. They will also have the capability of live streaming, so a child who is unwell and is not physically present at school will be able, Mr. Speaker, to be in the classroom while he joins virtually. To date, 5 classrooms have been retrofitted and outfitted with the necessary equipment. Special thanks to our Taiwanese counterparts for supporting this smart classroom drive. The government and people of Taiwan have partnered with the Ministry of Education on many ICT in education initiatives. They have provided interactive televisions and recording equipment to over 30 schools, interactive educational screens to 21 primary and secondary schools, and complementing our e-book initiative, Mr. Speaker, by providing 80 Chromebooks, 50 tablets, and charging cards to 7 schools in this country. In the coming months, Mr. Speaker, another 20 classrooms across the island will be converted into smart classrooms. I repeat, in the coming months, Mr. Speaker, another 20 classrooms across the island will be converted into smart classrooms. The Caribbean Digital Transformation Project, through the Department of the Public Sector, through the Public Sector Modernization Project, will be supporting this initiative. These endeavors, Mr. Speaker, will not be successful without the requisite internet coverage. While the CASI program continues to expand broadband services across schools on the island, this government has partnered with our telecommunications providers to make broadband accessible to 5,000 vulnerable households at a token cost of roughly $20 monthly. Mr. Speaker, this is a serious government, a government that cares about the underprivileged, and a government that puts people first. Mr. Speaker, I would therefore like to urge parents, students, and teachers to take advantage of these opportunities and make the most effective use of the ICT in education opportunities to make classrooms come alive, provide a greater reach to our students, and provide an authentic education to our young minds who will become the citizens of the future. Mr. Speaker, under my ministerial watch, I will ensure that the Ministry of Education remains resolute in its quest to strengthen this e-education ecosystem. This is the direction in which the world is moving, and we cannot afford to leave our children behind. A greater emphasis will be placed on more relevant teacher training and improvements in broadband and connectivity. We shall continue to solicit support, Mr. Speaker, from our development partners as we seek to bridge this digital divide in our quest towards the development of a diverse, educated, and resilient people. Mr. Speaker, this is only a snippet of the ongoing work in the Ministry of Education. We are cognizant of the fact that we receive a very sizable chunk of the national budget, and I want to give this Parliament, and by extension the people of St. Lucia, the most solemn of assurances that under my ministerial watch, the Ministry of Education will spend no effort in ensuring that we deliver to the children and by extension the population of this country. Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for your indulgence. Thank you, colleagues.